Hi everyone, Tom Butt, Calder Group, incorporating Calder Finance Midlands Limited. This is video 4 of our retirement planning program, where we've been going through the steps that we take our clients through on how we can build or assist them to achieve their dream retirement. Just a reminder, if you haven't seen those videos, and they're all available on YouTube under our channel, the link will be again somewhere around here. The first part is to work out what retirement actually is. So what does it mean for you? How much traveling are you going to do? How much money do you want to spend? What kind of things do you want to spend it on? What age do you want to retire? How you want to retire, as in hit 65 or 61 or 62 and just go, boom, stop and walk away? Or do you want to start going right from 55 to 57? I'm going to start easing back. I'm going to bring my management team into the business. I'm going to go part-time. What is it for you? What do you want to do? And also, what compromises do you want to make? So it may mean that you work part-time, even if you don't really want to. I always use the example of my grandfather. He was in his 70s before he finished work completely. Not because he had to financially, but he was in the position where he actually enjoyed work. And in his 70s, he worked at a local garage, sweeping the floor, cleaning up, helping out, driving the customers to and from in terms of their vehicle, so picking up, dropping off, and basically just helping out around the place. He would start at 7 in the morning, finish about midday. I always asked him why he did that, and part of it was, he said, it got him to mix with younger people. He was up and about and gave him a purpose. The money was almost irrelevant. It was more, he loved the work, loved mixing with people, and wanted to keep doing that as long as possible. So is that part of your plan? You don't have to work for money. Here's a novel concept. You work for the love of it. We've then talked about what assets you're going to use. So things like your business, buy-to-let properties, investments. Touch very briefly on inheritances, not something you should take for granted and automatically assume are available. But if you can pretty much guarantee it, because it's in trust, for example, then why not include that in the calculations? Once you know what assets you're going to use, we then talked about putting a value on those assets. So how much is the business worth today? Not 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, or whenever you're going to retire. What is it worth to you today? Once you know that value, including your pensions, any investments, etc., and also on the pensions, don't forget to check that there's no guarantees when those guarantees kick in. Make sure you've got the basic details. If you've got a £100,000 pension fund that you know is going to pay you a guaranteed income of, I don't know, £11,000 a year from your 65th birthday, that's great. That's the value you should be focusing on, not the £100,000. But just check, make sure you're aware that that pension will pay for a spouse or not. Will it increase or not? Again, key things. Average age at the moment for the UK is mid-80s. That pension has got to run for 20 years. If you pass away early, does that die with you, or does your spouse get some of it? And if inflation is built in, will it keep pace with inflation, or will it stay level throughout? Quite a few things to have a look at. And this is where it gets interesting. We now know the assets you're willing to use. We now know the value you've got on those assets today. And again, if you're doing a business, speak to your accountant. Don't just go, I know it's worth. Get an accountant's valuation and check the marketplace to make sure that valuation is accurate and fair, and not just something you're hoping for, and it is actual reality and not a dream. So now we know all that, we can start playing around and using a system to help create the plan and the route map that takes our clients forward. Is where we look at our clients' circumstances. In this case, it's a couple who, as you can see, plan to retire in their 60s. We've got state pension ages coming in. We know roughly when we believe the husband and wife will live to, so it gives us an age that we can work to. Please, we don't know for certain that's when they're going to die, obviously, although I have had a few people ask me that question. It's based on statistics, and we can run through what the ONS, the Office of National Statistics, say is the average life expectancy for male and female. And based on family, health, etc., we can work. So in this situation, we're working on around about 90 when Alistair passes away. We've also talked about inflation, and the clients are happy to use 2.5% a year inflation. Obviously, what we're going through with COVID at the moment, that inflation rate is slightly lower. There can be years where it's higher, but that's something that can be reviewed on a regular basis. We've even got the savings pots that the clients want to use. So in this situation, we have got, let's go back to that. We've got nothing in the current account. We've got a personal pension that's worth just shy of 150,000. We've got a cash ISA, and we've got a nest pension. We can then look at the income and expenditure. So what's the employed income between now and their age 60? Things like child benefit can be taken into account. And then we've got their state pension going forward from the age of 67 for Alistair and 69 for Anna. So again, we've built a lovely picture of what their income stream is going to be. And we've also gone through their pre and post-retirement expenditure. So again, we can talk about things in today's term, and this is where inflation is important. We can then take that forward. The system will build inflation into it, but keep it in today's terms, so you're not looking at phone book figures and not really understanding what it means. You can relate it to your life today. We then know what the contributions are going to be. So we know the personal pension contributions, the nest contributions, and importantly on this, we've built in a sale of a business. So the clients know that they will plan to sell the business for about 300,000. They've done their research. They know that's a fairly accurate figure. And it means for us, we can say, okay, that we will include. Now, you'll hope it's going to be more, and you've got to be aware that it might be less. No one knows what's going to happen. And this is where reviewing this plan becomes an important step of the retirement process. We've even got the ability to put in any charges or fees that may be incurred. But this is the important picture. Based on where they are now, what they're doing now, and if we go back to the savings pots, we've even included a kind of past history of for their risk. Not specifically the funds, but the risk. Now, this is past history. And as we know, what's happened in the past is not guaranteed to happen in the future. 2020 has proved that without question. But it gives us an idea, and it allows us to try and simulate some automatic movement. Instead of having a straight line graph that shows a wonderful 5% return year on year until we're 60, isn't that wonderful? We'll get peaks and troughs. And from that, we get this lovely model. So we can actually start to see what is going on. We can say, right, we know the current account isn't included, but we have the personal pension, we have a value of the cash ISA, we have the nest. And the red line is the problem area. So in this scenario, we know with these clients, actually from 75, based on what they've told us they're going to spend now and in retirement, they're going to start running out of money. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, we know that when Alistair hits 90, there's a shortfall of almost £350,000. So what does that mean? Well, it means we start having a conversation. What you'll notice in there, and if you go to the savings pots again, there's no main residence in there. We have not included their house. You might want to do an equity release. You might decide to sell. I've had clients who have sold the properties and they've gone to 1-bedroom flats or 2-bedroom flats. They've gone to something smaller. They've rented. There are some who will buy static homes on caravan sites. As long as they're not spending the full 12 months there, that's doable. And you can get some wonderful properties now in terms of what used to be called static homes, caravans, etc. But that is still an option. It's an option of going abroad as well. But for these clients, we know the problem. We know that we're looking at a potential shortfall of 350, and it gives us something to aim towards. And we can even build in stress testing. And what do I mean by stress testing? Well, if you look at the graph on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see quite a big wavy line. particularly around the nest. And what that means, you can't see it on there, but it also includes the personal pension, is we've taken past history from the stock markets, from investment performance, and we've built that in. So you can see at one point we've got a 35% drop that we've built in, and that gives us a model that we can work towards to say, okay, if that happens, can you still retire comfortably, or does it give a shortfall? We can even take in a situation where we say, okay, you know what, you believe, Mr. Client, that actually history is just going to repeat itself. That's all it's going to do, and we can apply those changes. What does that mean? Well, it means actually, as you can see, we've not got that 35% drop until quite later on. And what that means is, from the client's point of view, suddenly they've got a shortfall at the bottom of the screen of 225,000. So investment performance does make a difference. The question is not for me to say this is going to happen or that is going to happen. It's a discussion with the client to say, what scenario, what planning scenario are you willing to accept? And we can even build in here, let's be quite miserable, because I tend to be, as my wife and family will testify. We're going to build in a stock market crash, I don't know, just as they retire. So there we go. We'll apply the changes to that. What does that mean? What difference does it make? Well, the money runs out earlier, and suddenly we've got a £368,000 shortfall. Now, again, doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's a scenario. It's something to look at. And the key here is to start talking about plan B and plan C. So do we use the property? Do we actually go, I want to plan for that. I want to plan for that £368,000 shortfall, Tom. What can we do? Well, that becomes the next part, because we know that the clients need a particular achievement. They need to aim at a particular thing. And let me get the right part and I'll show you. So we can start looking at what we actually need as a retirement. So here we are. We're sat in a position where we have a current pot size, and we know what it needs to be. Now, there's a shortfall for the clients of 368,000. What do? We know the client can put in £1,500 a month in this example. Retirement is going to be from 60. We've assumed an average net rate of return. Now, again, we can play with that. We can change that and go, we can chase potentially a higher risk, Mr. Client. See more volatility. What difference does it make? It actually gives us a bigger pot in retirement. So this is now looking to say, what do we need to actually put in as a retirement pot, as savings? How much risk do we need to take? It plays around with the figures. You get more as an income, you get more as a lump sum. What do you need to do? Where do you need to get to achieve your desire? And again, we've put drawdown as 30 years. So we've sort of said there, actually, you know what? We still stick to 90 as the age we want to aim at. But what if we knocked 5 years back from retirement? What difference does that make? Well, actually, it means that we only need to save £660 a month to get there, assuming we hit those figures. And again, we're going to be aggressive here, Mr. Client. Tom, we want to aim for 7% a year net return after charges. So quite a sizable one. And the good news there, Mr. Client, yeah, you don't need to make any more savings. You can look at a pension fund size and say, actually, we want that £500,000 retirement. So we're back to needing that 677. Actually, Tom, we know we were 368 short, and we knew we were going to get to 300,000. So actually, we need £686,000 in retirement. We still want to make it at 65. We need to save £1,400, and that needs to be increased annually by RPI, whatever that may be. Actually, we feel really uncomfortable, and actually, 4% is about right. What difference does that make to the figures? Well, suddenly we're up to almost £2,500 gross per month saving. Again, yeah, health-wise, I think we need to hit it. Can you see what we're trying to do here? And the beauty of this is it can change. Now, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, never mind next year, 10 years, 15 years. No one, apart from Bill Gates apparently, saw COVID-19 coming. So we know that this is not an exact science. It's pretty much like the old analogy about a pilot flying. He knows the route, he knows where he's starting from, and he knows where he wants to get to. And he knows roughly where he needs to go to get there. However, tailwinds, headwinds, crosswinds, thunderstorms, there's a whole host of issues that come along, and constantly he has to change the route and bring it back on track. That is what we are doing with this system. So, can we guarantee you your perfect retirement? No, because only you know what your perfect retirement is. And life, as we know in 2020, can throw some curveballs at us that we need to change. Do we know the investment return we're going to get for you? No, we don't. But what we can do is work with you to monitor what is happening, the impact on that plan. Do we need to put your retirement back slightly, invest more, stay as we are because it's all working perfectly? If you want to design your retirement plan, if you want to work with someone who can help you get there, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to help and see what we can do. The key thing from all of this, I hope, is there's real benefit in taking financial advice. Whether it's with us or anyone else, please just seek a professional who can help work with you and not tell you what you need to do, but help you plan and make the decisions that you want to make to help you get to where you want to be. Thanks very much. Take care.